Let's just start with a brutal truth about your life. That story you think you're writing, the choices you believe you're making every single day, well, they're not entirely yours. See, most of your life is just an echo, a reaction to programming you never ever consented to. This is Unspoken Rules, and this is where we expose the psychological truths that nobody ever teaches you.
Now, this isn't some kind of abstract philosophy. This is a cold, hard diagnosis from Dr. Eric Berne, the psychiatrist who literally uncovered the hidden mechanics of human relationships. What he's saying is that a position was fixed for you. A role was assigned to you, long before you could understand it. And the scariest part, you've been playing it out ever since, completely convinced it was your own free will.
So, I have to ask you, who is really running your life? Is it the conscious thinking you, the you that's listening right now? Or is it some kind of ghost from your past, an invisible script that's dictating every single move you make? What we're about to do is dissect the source code of human interaction itself. Why? So you can stop being just a character in someone else's story and finally start taking control of your own.
All right, let's start with the programming itself. I want you to think way back, before you could reason, before you even had the language to defend yourself. A life plan was installed deep inside your mind. It's called the life script. And you need to understand, this is the unconscious blueprint that is controlling your destiny. Right now, as you're listening to this.
Yeah, this script, it functions just like an operating system, running silently in the background of your mind. It's the reason you're drawn to the same type of partner over and over again. It's why you seem to stall out in your career at the exact same point. It's that familiar feeling of either disappointment or triumph that you get at the end of every chapter of your life. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the tragedy is most people live out this pre-written ending and they mistake it for fate.
So how exactly was this code written into you? Well, first, you've got parental messages. These are the spoken rules, the obvious stuff. But then it gets deeper. You have injunctions. These are the unspoken commands about what was totally unacceptable. Things like, don't feel, or don't outshine your father. Even something as dark as don't exist. Then you've got the drivers. These are the pressure-filled rules you have to follow to be considered okay. Think about the kid who only gets praised for perfect grades. What do they learn? They learn that their worth is completely conditional on their performance. And finally, the code was written by the raw survival decisions you were forced to make as a child, just to get love and feel safe. These weren't intellectual choices, okay? They were desperate, emotional bargains that are still running your life today.
Now, to really get how this script is enforced, you have to understand the constant power struggle that's happening inside your own head. Right now, there are 3 distinct entities living inside you, and they are constantly battling for control. You can think of them as the main characters in your own internal drama.
And let me be crystal clear about something. This isn't just some dusty old theory. These aren't abstract ideas like Freud's id or superego. No. These are real, observable states of being. They're tangible shifts in personality that you can literally see and feel in yourself and in other people. It's in the change in posture, a sudden shift in tone, a flicker in the eyes. These are the voices in your head made real.
So, what are these 3 voices? First up, you have the parent. Think of this as a recording of every rule, every judgment you ever absorbed from authority figures. It's basically your internal critic. Then you've got the child. This is the core of your emotions. It holds all your past feelings, your creativity, but also all of your vulnerabilities. And finally, there's the adult. This is the rational, logical part of you, the part that assesses reality right here, right now, without being contaminated by the past. So the million-dollar question is, who's in charge most of the time?
Well, for most people, here's the reality. They live in a state of past reaction. They're completely driven by the parent's outdated rules and the child's unresolved feelings. Their behavior, it's automatic. It's just a reflex. The real path to power, to autonomy, is to live in a state of present response. That means being driven by the adult's clear, logical assessment of reality. It is literally the difference between being a puppet of your past and becoming a master of your present.
Okay, but why? Why do we engage in so much drama? Why do we get stuck repeating the same pointless arguments with the same people? It's because there is a hidden economy at play in every single human interaction. A secret currency that is way more valuable to our psyche than money. And that currency is recognition. The term for a unit of recognition is a stroke, and a stroke can be anything. A nod, a word, even a look of contempt. We are fundamentally wired to crave them. And here is a terrifying psychological truth you need to grapple with.
We are so desperate to avoid what's called psychological starvation that we will unconsciously provoke negative attention just to feel seen. Think about that. Being criticized feels better than being ignored, because to our primitive brain, being ignored is a signal that we don't exist. This one insight is the engine that drives almost all dysfunctional human behavior.
And this desperate primal need for strokes, that's what fuels what we call psychological games. Now, a game is not a random argument. It's a scripted, repetitive pattern of interactions with a completely concealed motive. On the surface, it looks plausible, even normal, but underneath, it's a fundamentally dishonest maneuver, and it's designed to arrive at a predictable negative feeling. That negative feeling, that's the payoff. It's what the players are unconsciously seeking to confirm their own life script.
And believe it or not, every single one of these games follows the same chilling formula. First, there's the con. That's the invitation to play, and it always has a hidden agenda. Next, it hooks a gimmick, a specific weakness in the other person. The interaction proceeds for a bit, and then comes the switch. This is an abrupt, unexpected shift that creates total confusion, the cross-up. And finally, the game ends with the payoff, that familiar bad feeling, like anger, or guilt, or self-pity. For example, think of the person who always forgets a promise, baits you into an argument, and then gets to feel so misunderstood. That feeling? That was the goal all along. So, where do these games actually get played? Well, they happen in a psychological arena known as the Karpman drama triangle. And you need to pay close attention because this is probably the most toxic and common game of all. And chances are you're playing it every single day without even realizing it.
So let's meet the players on this triangle. First up, we have the Persecutor. This is the person who is always critical, blaming, and controlling. They operate from this position of superiority, but it's all a front to mask their own deep-seated insecurities. They absolutely need to make other people feel not okay, just so they can feel okay themselves.
Next, you've got the Rescuer. Now, this one is tricky. They seem so helpful, right? Let me help you with that. But their assistance is actually a power play. In fact, the Rescuer is often the most dangerous role on the triangle because their help is just a disguised form of control that keeps people weak and dependent. They don't solve problems, they manage them. Because if the problem were actually solved, they'd lose their sense of purpose and their feeling of superiority. And rounding out the triangle, we have the victim. The victim acts helpless, but it's a strategy to avoid taking responsibility. That whole poor me stance, it's a manipulation tactic. It's designed to get persecutors to attack them and rescuers to save them, which just confirms their core script belief that they're powerless and need other people to survive. But here's the absolute key to understanding this. These roles, they're not static. The game is all about the switch. The moment the rescuer feels unappreciated for their help, they suddenly switch and become a persecutor, saying, "After everything I've done for you." The moment the victim feels smothered by the rescuer, they turn on them and become a persecutor themselves. This switch is what creates the confusion, delivers that negative payoff, and immediately resets the board for the next round of the game.
Okay, so now you see the traps, the invisible script, the three minds inside you, the psychological games, the drama triangle, all of it. It's all designed to keep you locked in a predictable, totally unfulfilling loop. But there is a way out. There is a path to what Dr. Byrne called autonomy.
And the solution, it's not about becoming a better player. It's not about trying to win the game. The only way to win is to refuse to play. And that requires consciously, deliberately shifting into your adult ego state. You have to learn to observe the invitation to play, to see the bait for what it is, and then respond not with the programmed reaction of your parent or child, but with a cool, rational assessment of the present moment.
This, right here, this is the ultimate expression of personal power. See, real autonomy isn't about being free from external rules. It's about being free from your own internal programming. It's about gaining the awareness, the spontaneity, and the capacity for genuine intimacy that can only come when you step off that game board entirely. And that is the choice you now face. You've just been shown the mechanics of the prison. You can see the invisible bars. You can choose to remain a player, just endlessly rotating through those same old roles, collecting your predictable negative payoff. Or you can choose to see the entire game for exactly what it is. Because here's the thing. The information you now have, it puts you at a crossroads. These patterns in your office, in your family, inside your own head, you're going to start seeing them everywhere. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. You can no longer plead ignorance. The only question left is, what are you going to do with this awareness?
So, will you just allow the script to keep running your life on autopilot, or will you choose to become one of the very few who are truly awake? If you're ready to start seeing reality for what it really is, then subscribe and turn on your notifications. And in the comments, I want you to identify the most common game you see being played around you. Welcome to the world of awareness.